Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Vicki Howie of ChakraBoosters.com, the creator of Chakra Boosters Healing Tattoos. And welcome to your Astro Energy Forecast for October 2020. Now, I don't have to tell you that 2020 has been an intense year, do I? But I do want to share that it looks like October may be the most intense month in this intense year. And there's also a caveat. It depends. What does it depend on? It depends on the energy that you're aligning with. If you're aligning with the masculine, the traditional, especially the more toxic masculine that we are now needing to let go of, it will be frustrating. You will be stopped. It will be combative. You might be hard on yourself and hard on others. And yes, there is an alternative. If you turn your eyes to the feminine, and in this case, quite literally, to the moon and to Venus, this month, it'll be a whole different experience. Now, if you didn't see my forecast for September, I suggest you watch that too, because this is very much part deux of this story of the feminine beginning to physically unfold in a way, or at least an opportunity for it to do so on the planet, quite literally, so that there's just a shift in what type of energy is leading. So if we want the planet to slightly lead with this feminine energy, because feminine energy honors both masculine and feminine, the go for it, the individualism, and the, climbing to the mountain, that's a beautiful thing. Feminine energy doesn't throw that away. It actually seeks to dance with that energy. But what we need on the planet right now is a shift from this leading with the masculine, the separate, the mental, the ego-oriented, and begin to lead from the heart, the creative, from the intuitive that gets its directives from the divine and from play and from curiosity and creativity, from literally creation as it happens in the feminine womb. Can you feel the difference? So I am literally saying that you are going to have a completely different October depending on what energies you want to align with. In any case, it's big transformation and it's very, very intense. I want to point out that these are not normal energy forecasts. Anything you see online these days, astrologically, is not normal. Okay, this is just not another month. These are 1,000-year paradigm changes. We are looking at something amazing right now. And we can align with it and move with it, or we can let our body and ego fight it. And that's going to be crazy if we try to do that. It can also have this aspect of life itself is burning away and creating transformation. And I'll get into that in just a minute, of course, as we talk about the fires that began in September. So first, let me introduce for you the three themes that I'm looking at this month. That there could have been many. These are the three we're going to focus on. The first one is we're going to have this intense opportunity. We actually began in September and it's continuing now. And it's this opportunity to see our masculine shadow, to actually see in our face the toxic masculine that the Western world, particularly the United States, because I'm going to give you an example, has been leading from. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have a lot of good masculine in the US or in other parts of the Western world. Of course we do. But I just want to point out that there has been a real reverence, like we're bowing to these toxic masculine ideals of complete independence in the sense of self, mental and ego and ideas over embodiment, linear over cyclical, over nature. So the artificial, that which we create ourselves over what nature creates. There's this competition. Me, I'm separate from you. You are not a part of me. It's one thing to know that we have separate beings, and another thing to know that even as we have separate beings, separate bodies, we share an energy field. So we are actually all together on this planet. So this toxic masculine also is unconscious aggression. And that's the big thing that's asking to be healed right now. One, for our masculine to become more conscious, our initiatory energy, our go for it focused energy to be made more aware so that we aren't coming from an unconscious injured place. Now, this energy, this shift, or this theme I'm talking about began officially really in September on 9/9. 9/9 was the beginning of Mars retrograde while in Aries. Now, Mars retrogrades less than the other planets. The inner planets, you know, Mercury retrogrades 3 or 4 times a year, but Mars only does it once every couple years. And it's rarely been in its own sign. So here it is, ready to go. Mars, the masculine, the energy, the go for it, the warrior, the initiator. And it's in its own sign of Aries. And Aries is the warrior. Let's go for it. And then it's being told, no, look inward. You're not going anywhere. Take a little trip down memory lane. Really look at things. And interestingly enough, when that happened, that's when the fires began. The fires began. And in the US, I'm talking in particular. And as we all know, these fires have been raging and raging. And Aries is a fire sign. So I think this is quite a literal manifestation. I think it's also so we can see it, because not only have we seen the fires over and over again, burning things away, and that's nature herself just burning, moving, cleansing, but also we've seen so much smoke that the pictures on the news of the US look like the planet Mars. It looks apocalyptic almost, and very, very red. The smoke has created these red pictures. So this is underlining the theme I'm talking about. We are literally being shown what fire does, how fire destroys, and we're being showed symbolism in nature of how our energy can destroy when we are all about the fire. And the fire is just, it goes for it. It's competitive. It's good when you're cooking a meal with it. It's good when you're warming your hands around it. It's good when we use it consciously. If fire is unconscious, it rages. It just rages. And when we are a source of it, we are not in touch with our divine masculine. So we're being asked first and foremost to look at this raging aspect, the trauma in maybe our lineage, the trauma in our life, in our lifetime. Perhaps most of us have at one time or another had some trauma around masculine energy, around abuse. We recently had the huge Me Too movement outing everyone. So the first thing we need to do is actually look, each and every one of us, look at our aggression. Look at how we snap at someone if we're tired, or look at how we compete rather than cooperate. Look in a really nice way. So it doesn't help to look at the toxic masculine from the toxic masculine. That's just like the snake eating its tail. We need to come into our heart, into the divine feminine of the heart energy of the unconditionally loving mother, and just look. And when we do this, when we can just look and go, wow, and see our shadow, and both culturally and individually, then we have more choice around it. So that's theme number 1. This is a month as Mars is in Aries retrograde, to look and continue to look within and be honest and clear and really see the fire, see the smoke, see the red Mars energy that in September is literally in the pictures in the US. Our second theme is align with the divine for joy and movement in this month. What I'm being shown right now is like old-fashioned pictures of when women didn't engage in war at all, and the men would go off to war and the women would stay and make things and fix things and make the economy continue to go and just help. The feminine is where you want to put your energy right now. The masculine this month, just like September, but even more intensely in October, is being held back. Mars is squaring Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. The sun is also having different aspects of a similar aggressive nature. Sun and Mars are our masculine symbols. And Moon and Venus are our feminine symbols. And if you look at this month, most astrologers for this month are completely freaking out. And I get it. There's a lot here. But you're going to freak out more if you're using the masculine paradigm to look at the planets, because then you look at those masculine planets more. I say move the focus over to Venus and over to the Moon, and you're going to see a different story. There's super positive aspects. Venus is trining all over the place. She's even trining surprising tech, new age oriented Uranus. So we could have some really great surprises. And aside from the surprise we already had in September 14th, that there is probably the ability on Venus to sustain life. So I think that's another interesting symbolic thing. When I did my September, I shot my September forecast and said this is going to be a feminine and Venus month. I got such a kick out of mid-month when the scientists said, hey, we're seeing signs, gaseous signs, that there could be microscopic life on Venus. And that's exactly what I was talking about in my report last month, that Venus is going to have a voice. She's going to have life. Like, the world is literally nature herself and even other planets. So the whole universe is showing us symbolically this huge paradigm shift that we're in the process of making. So you're going to want to align with the divine feminine and also divine masculine, but I'm not sure we're as ready for that. So be aware of your shadow toxic masculine. Just really notice that. One of the metaphors I like to use for number 2 is the idea of if you're going to stop smoking. And I love the smoking analogy because that's all about the fire of Mars, right? Which is solar plexus energy, fire element, solar plexus chakra. When you want to stop smoking, if you try to just stop smoking, and really stopping smoking is a great analogy for what's going on for all of us right now. We just need to stop smoking. Now, of course, I don't mean this, but the idea that we control fire at our face, that idea of smoking, we all need to become more aware of the smoking gun, of the fire in our life. And if you try to stop smoking by focusing on the cigarettes or on the fire or on the nicotine, it won't work. But if you want to stop smoking, you focus on good things that are different, like hug someone every time you want a cigarette. That gives you oxytocin. That's the feminine. That will really fulfill you. And then you won't have that urge to smoke. That's the exact analogy for this month. If you fill yourself with the delight of Venus and the Moon and the feminine and your relationships, because it is a Libra month after all, if you do that, you are really going to fare far better in this month. Because yes, there will be hurricanes and fires, and I mean that both metaphorically and probably literally. And of course, when those move through, it hits certain houses and misses others. And so you can be in the line of that fire, or you can be out of it. You can be the warrior going to war, or you can be the feminine energy that's holding the homestead. And I recommend, there's really no need for war here. So be the feminine energy holding the homestead. There's actually some good grounded energy for Venus this month. Okay, theme number 3 is to embrace the change process as normal. COVID kicked us into this. The astrology of this year has kicked us into the old norm is not normal. The idea that we need to have things we have to know where they're going to go. That, I think, is actually an idea of the past. I really, really do. to know that they're going to go well, to know you're safe, to trust the universe, that's good. But to need to literally know where something's going, to keep a job you don't like because it's secure, is a form of security that makes you a hostage. So we're redefining a new sense of security where we trust change, we trust the process of our own and the universe's unfolding on a day-to-day basis. The analogy I get for this is that we're learning to surf. And our stability is on how well we surf, how well we stay on the board. And the better we get at surfing, the more we feel safe surfing. Makes sense, doesn't it? We're not going to go back to the surfboard being locked in the shack and being at our offices just doing work. We're not going to go back to a world that's known because we are stuck or because we've traded in our livelihood, our passion for something else. We're not going to go back to a world that stays homogenous and the same for long periods of time. It's just not going to happen. So it's time now to begin to embrace the idea that the new normal is to be ready for the not normal, the surprises, the changes, to live in the stream of feminine. Again, feminine is process of change, the feminine change. Can you feel how important that is in flow and in change, and finding our stability in that flow rather than trying to grab? If we keep trying to grab, we are going to fight the change that's so positive right now, that's moving us into a more balanced and feminine-led age. We're going to come from this place of fear. Oh my gosh, it's not safe, it's not stable because I don't know what it is. Not knowing what's coming next. If you do that with a child and you say, what's coming up? Often a child, if they have no real trauma, will get very excited. Usually, actually, in our childhood, change is exciting. It's only as we allow ourselves to get attached to certain things as we move through life do we get into this place where we think it needs to stay the same. And the truth at the bottom line is nothing stays the same, right? We're always growing and changing and expanding. And now that we're moving into more upper level, more ascended energy on our planet, our bodies are literally changing with us more quickly if we will allow it. So those are our 3 themes for the month. Let's look at the dates. I've got a lot of dates, you guys, because what I wanted to show you was I'm focusing on Venus. Not too many people have focused on Venus. So I'm focusing on the moon, but especially on Venus, because I want you to see in this month how many times she trines or sextiles. And I don't even know if I wrote them all down, actually. But basically, the feminine, the love-oriented feminine. Venus is the heart chakra. It's related to this beautiful energy of love, but she's also the sacral, right? Because she is about this energy of coming out of Venus herself on the clamshell is the goddess of the ocean. So it's the 2 lower feminine chakras. I shouldn't say lower, the middle with the heart and then the lower with the sacral. That's what Venus is about. And she's doing a beautiful dance this month. So to give you a contrast to all the crazy astrological news you might be hearing this month, I want to share with you a lot about what Venus is doing. There's actually on the 29th of September, a square of Mars in Aries squaring Saturn in Saturn's home sign of Capricorn. So they're like 2 guys on their home turf. Like if 2 football players could play in a place where they were both on their home turf, which doesn't happen, I know, but imagine that, because it's like empowered by being on your home turf. So that's the kind of war it is. Well, we have that energy coming from the 29th moving into October. So Mars is basically in a fighting mood and Mars is being held back to a certain degree. So there is, if you stay in the masculine, this frustration this month. The full moon in Aries is on October 1 at 2:05 a.m. Pacific. We've got 10/1/2020. I want you to look at that. You might even want to write that down, 10/1/2020. Because basically, Aries is when the moon is full, you've got Aries in the moon and you've got it opposite. It's opposite Libra in the sun, as the sun. And they're both at 9 degrees, which is a mature, it's the highest of the single digits in numerology. So it's kind of it's a completion or maturity number. And in the chakras, it is the sacral the second time around. It's the highest version of the sacral. The 8 is the highest version of root chakra energy, the healer, the business person. The 9 is the creative who's in it for everyone, who's got everyone's intention and it's creative and flowing. So this is interesting because we're at 9 degrees. The sun is at 9 degrees Libra. The moon is at 9 degrees of Aries. And they're opposed. And remember, it was 9/9 that Mars went retrograde in Aries on 9/9. So I feel like these are really tied in. Us looking at our toxic masculine and our ability to do so will come to a head at the full moon. We'll be able to really see it. The sacral is a reflective chakra and it represents the divine feminine. And the numbers themselves are saying that because they go 10, 1, 20, 20. So it goes 1 and 0 and 1. So you have these ones, right? That are, the ones are about the Aries initiatory, selfish, self-oriented energy. It's immature, it's young, it's impassioned, it's excited. But in the worst case scenario, it's selfish. That's what immaturity is, right? It's just the baby's first just aware of themselves. So you have that 1, and then it turns into the 2020, which goes to the 2s. So we're just literally, even the date is from 1 to 2. And it goes from Aries 1-ish to Libra 2-ness. Get it? Libra is the relational sign. It's all about relationships. Libra's about balance. Libra would see Aries on the opposite side of it as the other side of the scale. But Aries would see Libra as the enemy. I want to fight you. So feel into that energy. They both exist. It's just a perspective. And you want to be in that Libra relational, I accept my shadow, I am one with others energy. Because it has so much more truth. Because we absolutely are. And as we move more and more into an energy universe versus a physical, we're not just looking at the physical anymore. We truly are feeling each other's energy and going into more and more of this time of being one, literally being one, engaging. Okay, let me see what else I can tell you about the full moon that we want to say. Full moons, as you know, are a completion energy. So that's why I'm feeling there's something about the Aries retrograde and the new moon of last month that then is being completed at this full moon in Aries. So it's asking us in the full moon, things might, depending on how you're looking at your own toxic masculine, if you're looking at it in a loving way and just seeing it clearly, I don't think you'll need to see a lot of destruction or fire or whatever around you, because we know from physics that we have a relative reality. And if you do need to see that and you need to experience that because you're not facing yet your own toxic masculine, we all have it somewhere in us to be loved and be healed. If you're not looking at that, then it might really erupt right in your face. And I think generally as a culture, it might erupt in all of our faces, and how we react to it will have to do with how much we've accepted it in ourselves. So you have a chance here to move into more Venus and moon energy at this full moon. And it's a good time to relax, stay in joy, stay at home perhaps, because it could be a pretty crazy time. And that energy is going to then affect the rest of the month. Kind of that idea of let's move, let's look at whether we're in the masculine or the feminine. October 2nd, I just want to mention that Venus moves into Virgo, because to me that's October 3rd, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn. So you have Venus and Pluto, right, 2 days, right beside each other. Venus moves into Virgo, which is love and feminine energy coming into reality, into use. Virgo is the doer of, not like the doer of Aries, where it just goes and takes off before it even thinks. Virgo is the planner, and Virgo is the earth sign, whereas Aries fire. Virgo is about us bringing these changes into our bodies and into the earth where it's needed so badly. as is Taurus, an earth sign that's related to Venus. So Venus in Virgo is actually a good thing here, especially with Pluto going direct in Capricorn, because Pluto is going to do that on October 3rd, and Pluto's about transformation and change, and we're talking about deep. And what we're going through right now, everyone, I don't think I need to tell you, is deep. This is deep transformation, and Pluto is the planet of death. Transformation through death, through deep cycles, and it's the planet that represents the underworld, and going there and taking the hero's journey. So Capricorn is also an earth sign, so this October 2-3 feels to me like, let's make this real. Venus and Pluto, transformation and the feminine being made real. October 10th, Venus is trine Uranus. Now, Uranus is all over the place this month and is creating a lot of what I've heard people refer to this Halloween month as trick or trick instead of trick or treat, because there's so much trickery likely to happen, so much shift. It doesn't all have to be bad though. When things aren't good, and I would be willing to say that things on the planet are not real good right now at all, and we need lots of beautiful, healing, community energy, cooperation, love, awareness, compassion, sensitivities to ourselves and others, sharing. There's just so much we need from the feminine, the creative, the playful, which is the sacral feminine. And because we need that, that means that something has to die. Transforming literally means if something new is coming in, then something old has to die. Well, then Uranus, Venus is trine Uranus, and Uranus is still the planet of change. And change doesn't have to be bad, right? This could be feminine change to the positive effect. So I'm hoping for that. And you can move that in your own life. What do you want to change in your life in alignment with Uranus? But you also might find, since Uranus is all about change and the shifts, like surprising shifts, that you might find yourself surprised about something in the way that something shows up in your life. So this could either be something feminine shows up, or it could literally be something crazy shows up and you're asked to respond to it in a feminine, accepting, flowing, process-oriented way. Okay? Because Venus trine Uranus is harmony. October 13th at 6:05 p.m. Pacific, all times are Pacific, change them. You might even be on a different day in other parts of the world. We have Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio. So you guys, this just fits right in line again with intensity. We all know that at least for the external world and our technologies and travel and things we want to get done, Mercury retrograde can be pretty inconvenient. And then you add the intensity of we already have Mars in Aries retrograde looking at things. Now we got Mercury looking at things, deeply looking into communications, to it's the communicator, the messenger. So what are even your internal messages to self? I think that's really important because Scorpio is such an inner transformational sign. So I think this is asking us to look at how do you speak to yourself. And it's going to ask you to incubate a bit, right? Because if you try to go outward with your communications, outward with anything during this Mercury retro in Scorpio, it could be quite challenging. But it does have a deeply retrograded feel. Can you feel it? Like it just feels like a bigger opportunity than usual to move into your own transformational questioning. On October 16th at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, we have a new moon in Libra. Now this is the second lunation of the month, and we're going to have 3 this month. Like I said, it begins and ends with a full moon, which is pretty exciting. New moon in Libra. Well, Venus rules Libra. So this again, I'm having a Venus party. I know, you guys. I actually recommend that you literally get some kind of symbol, something of Venus that you can have her there to keep giving you the cool waters against the fire of the Mars Aries craziness and the squaring of the masculine energies. Get some water. I have, I don't know if you can see it back here, I have a mermaid in a little snow globe, and I love my mermaid, and she brings me Venus-like mermaid siren energy. So bring in some, maybe bring in seashells too, whatever you can that will bring you into that Venus, feminine, oceanic energy to combat the fires that could be here in October. The fire, literal and metaphorical. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so new moon, you said intentions. Libra, new moon is, like I said, ruled by Venus. Venus is also sacral. So again, it's heart and sacral chakras. What do you want to create? Maybe your intention could be a big one, that I learn to surf change, that I learn to find stability, this new form of security in change. Since life is always changing anyway, then I won't have to fight the flow of life, the cycles of life. I can just be in them. I can dance with life if I feel safe and secure in surfing the flow and change of life. So that would be a really high intention. Some other intentions could be around, since you're already, Mercury's gone retrograde, is looking at your communications in relationship, because Libra's all about relationship. Look if you're being fair in your communications, fair in your negotiations, because Libra's about fair. Libra knows that it needs to be win-win. It always needs to be win-win, because it's never a win on this side if it's a lose on the other side, because we're all connected. So there is no such thing. It's a masculine illusion. It's a masculine illusion that there is such a thing as win-lose, right? It is. It's an illusion, because win-lose in a world, a feminine world, which we're really in now, where we feel each other, we are connected to each other, we know we're all in this together, is a lose for the so-called winner. So there can only be win-win, so you might make some win-win intentions. I would light a candle. You might bring up some images of Venus, and as I said, seashells or maybe mermaids or anything for you that brings you into your heart and into the waters of feminine flow. On October 19th, Venus, still in Virgo, trines Jupiter. This is so beautiful. Jupiter's in Capricorn. That means Jupiter, the benevolent planet that is, it's just luck, and it's related to the crown, it's related to the highest, most divine energies, is in Capricorn, which is related to earth and root chakra and the most embodied. So while Jupiter is in Capricorn, it's like this lucky planet can make things real. And so this says to me that it's harmonizing and trining with Venus, who's in Virgo, and she's already making things real. So this is continuing on this theme of we can make feminine change real in our lives. I'm not sure, it seems like it's going to be a little longer for it to happen on a planetary or global level, but it's going to begin with us doing it in our individual lives. So make that intention to do it in your individual life by at least October 16th on that beautiful new Libra moon. And then on the 19th, honor Venus being trine to Jupiter, because what's interesting here is the story continues. Mars is in Aries, is actually square Jupiter on that same day, and Jupiter of course is in Capricorn. So Jupiter's saying no to that Mars Aries energy. Now Jupiter doesn't say no much, so Jupiter saying no is not like Saturn. Jupiter's still benevolent, it's still kind and lucky and giving from a spiritual perspective. So on that day, that might be a great day to play with the balance, because Mars being square to Jupiter, Mars can't really fight Jupiter. Imagine like a mere mortal fighting a god. Doesn't matter how strong that warrior would be, they would lose, would they not? So Mars, the warrior, fighting Jupiter is just funny. So instead, Jupiter is going to bestow possible wisdom on Mars on that day. So stay in your feminine and see what your masculine can receive from Jupiter. On October the 20th, there's a lot of dates, you guys, so I have to look at my notes. Venus in Virgo is trine Pluto. So you've seen how Pluto's popped up throughout this month, and Pluto again is in Capricorn. So we have, again, these planets that are so key, and they're all in Capricorn, realism, earth. We can make it real. No longer are we thinking about the new age. No longer are we thinking about the divine feminine. No longer are we talking about being in the moment, but we actually can bring our bodies with us. We can make it our new normal if we are aware of it. And if you're watching this, you are aware of it. You're in the tribe that's on the edge of that leading edge of awareness and making a difference. Okay, so when Venus is trine Pluto, this means there's a lot of possibilities, there's harmony for transformation. Pluto, harmony is the trine, transformation is Pluto, feminine is Venus, fairness is Venus, love, pleasure, beauty, joy. So you can be frustrated and fighting and focusing on storms and squares and all kinds of masculine things that the Sun and Mars are up to, or you can be enjoying pleasure and harmony and deep looking at self in this Pluto way that's very, very deep. Pluto rules Scorpio. So some of you know Scorpio better, and that'll give you an idea of the flavor of that kind of introspection. On October 27th, Venus and Mercury both enter Libra together, and I wanted to point this out because, again, last month I was saying Venus was getting her voice. And even though Mercury's in retrograde, we're so used to thinking of Mercury around masculine things that I actually think it could be good, it being in retrograde, in terms of giving our emotions a voice, giving relationships a voice. So again, Venus is related to Libra. It's the ruling planet of Libra. So we're about relations, again, relationships and fairness and heart energy and connection that we have to everyone. So, and love, just love. So this feels really good to me toward the end of the month for Venus and Mercury to enter Libra together. And you might begin to really feel a communication shift at that time, or a shift in relationships toward being able to just communicate more, or you might need to communicate about old things to clear your relationship and do it in a loving fashion, because that's Venus. And retrograde Mercury would be looking at maybe some communicating about some old stuff that you want to clear. So we spend so much of the month looking at our own shadow, the individual masculine Mars, Aries type energies. At this point, it's more of looking at ourselves relationally, which could be really interesting. And finally, on October 31, we have our third lunation of the month. It's a full moon again. This time it's in Taurus, the other sign that is ruled by Venus. It's at 7:51 a.m. Pacific time on Halloween, right? On Halloween. So here we have the theme again of death. So symbolically, it's so perfect. And we have a full moon. So this to me feels like a full circle of, we start with an Aries full moon, right? And we end the month with a Taurus full moon. And we've come all the way to the feminine. It's like the work that we've done throughout the month brings us to this place. And now Venus and Mercury are together in Libra, or they went in on October 27th. So they're both in Libra, so it gives us a feminine voice. Now, also, the full moon in Libra is conjunct Uranus. So we're back again. It's right there, nice and cozy. The moon, the feminine, this time in an earth sign that loves pleasure, an earth sign that's related to Venus. It's conjunct right there, cozy with Uranus. So we're going to have some surprises, and they could be very positive surprises. It could be that Uranus is also tied to the new age. It's tied to Aquarius and the new age of Aquarius. And that's what this feminine influx is about. It's about learning to live from the feminine place of process and cycle and relationships And it's all about seeing life as a flow and not as a mental thing or as a linear thing. And it's about connecting to nature herself. Taurus is totally about connecting to nature herself, which we all know we need so much in this age. Otherwise, the idea of an age of Aquarius could be an age that's mental, an age that's technical, an age that takes us further away from nature. And I think we've all had enough of an experience of bits of that to know that our bodies crave more nature, more, because we come from nature. So this feels very good to me. And I think it's interesting. We have another message here about the masculine because the sun is opposite. So, right? It always is on a full moon. So you have the sun opposite here. You have the masculine challenging. Always on a full moon, we have the sun saying, what do you think? So there's a chance for the sun to get this message. I'm seeing like the sun and the moon in relationship, the way Venus and Mars can be in a relationship. They ended last month in harmony in September. And right now, I think sun and moon and Venus and Mars, I see them as like two couples, two parts of yourself that are renegotiating the relationship. So it isn't just assumed that the sun or Mars, that the aggressive masculine energy will lead, but rather that when the masculine energy steps back, stays back a bit, it can take intuitive directives, but they aren't even directives, intuitive inspiration. They can be evoked by the feminine to live in a more harmonious way. So that's what I see for the month, you guys. Let's grab the goddess cards. I didn't shuffle them beforehand. Let's do 3 quick shuffles and I'll put my loving intention into a card for the first half of the month. That's 1 shuffle. And we'll get a card for the second half of the month. We won't spend a long time. I know this has been a long forecast, but you guys, there is a lot going on. I hope you are making the most of this portal of change, especially this portal of change for the feminine right now, as the masculine's being frustrated and held back. Okay, I just cut it. Let's do our first card. And our first one is perfect. It is Maat, M-A-A-T, and the card meaning is fairness. So fairness, right? That's what Libra's all about. This situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. And this is what I'm talking about. We're going into a paradigm now of it cannot be win-lose. It cannot be win-lose. It must be win-win because the winner loses too in a win-lose. Got it? So perfect. Maat is reminding us of how important fairness is in this Libra season, and she's inviting us from goddess cards to be with the goddess. So Venus is that goddess as well that would bring that fair energy too, because she's about heart and about love, and she rules Libra, which is the scales. So they're sisters, Maat and Libra. Maat and Venus, excuse me, in Libra type energy, all about fairness. Okay, let's look at this second. So the first half of the month, feel into fairness, especially when it gets really fiery, really incendiary, okay? Don't get involved in the war. Stay home. Go inward and outward to your loved ones. Create a nurturing environment for yourself and others. And let's check for the second half of the month. Expect a miracle. What a great card for the second half of the month. It's Mother Mary. Expect a miracle. We have so much Uranus energy, and you notice in the second half of the month that Uranus energy starts to, well, actually it begins hanging with Venus on October 10th. So then we find further down it's going to actually be conjunct with the moon in Taurus. So we could expect some really cool things to happen. The card says, have faith that your prayers have been heard and are being answered. So this says to me, when we stay with our heart, when we stay with the loving mother energy and the creative feminine Venus energy, the fairness of Maat and Venus, when we move more into leading, this is the key, leading with that energy, miracles begin to happen. And Uranus looks a little scary when you look at what's happening with the masculine energies, particularly of Mars. But when you look at Uranus' relationship to Venus or to the moon, it looks really good. So let's feel into that and let's expect a miracle, because whatever we expect fills our belief in our heart and our energy and is even more likely to happen. So that's our forecast for this intense month of October 2020. I'm so glad that you've gone on this journey with me. I want to remind you to see your shadow in the beginning of the month. Really look at the Mars shadow. Align with the Divine Feminine for more joy and ease this month, and learn how to surf and be in the moment. Let your stability be a new kind of security, a new kind of stability that comes from your ability to surf and flow. I'm sending you so much love for a beautiful month, and I will see you on the next video. Blessings.